it's just interesting to have that type of crossroads with so many different people from so many different walks of life and still stay in connection with those guys because we all shared a year or two together of playing basketball and being on the court.
Almost getting shot in Chicago.
And a handful of them even know that too.
Welcome to Down the Drive. I'm your host, Eli.
And I'm your host, Wyatt. Here we will take you behind the curtain with University of Cincinnati sports. From football and basketball
To dodgeball and swimming, we've got it all. But first, hey, cats, let's go UC! Welcome to the first episode of Down the Drive. I'm your host, Eli.
And I'm your host, Wyatt. Thank you for tuning in to the inaugural episode. Today we are joined with our very own Chase Younts. And yeah, I guess let's get to it. First off, we'll start with a weekly recap for Tuesday, March 11th.
UC baseball, they got the sweep against Kinesis.
Sunday game was called by our very own Eli Franz.
Yeah, it was a very, very good game to call. We had a lot of home runs. We had a bomb off of the bat of Viderick that really got everyone going. And obviously the walk-off 3-run home run from Cal Sevic. Very good showing for the UC Bearcats. So looking to stay hot tonight against Miami, Ohio.
All right, yeah. And then the girls across beat Eastern Michigan 13-9. They have Wofford Friday at 3 at home. Be there or be square.
Yeah, and then for swim and dive, we got the Diving Zone Championship, which I'm pretty sure is this whole week. So, that should be good. Good showing for them. And then they also have the CSCAA National Invite, which is this Thursday to Sunday down in Florida. So,
yep, in Ocala, Florida. I'd say be there or be square, and then March 19th to the 22nd is the Women's National Championship, and then March 26th to the 29th is the Men's National Championship. To all our athletes going there, good luck. Best of luck. You will make us proud. UC women's basketball unfortunately lost in the first round of the Big 12 Championship to Arizona State, 82-75. Congratulations to the women's basketball team, though, for a fantastic season. Looking forward to next season for you all. And big news right now, UC men's basketball. We are currently leading 79-61 with how many minutes?
2:12 left to go.
2:12 left to go. So I'd say we are looking good. This could very well be the last game of the season. Probably not. We could Bearcat it up. We are up next game against
Iowa State.
Which
played them earlier in the year. It was very good. At halftime, I'm pretty sure it was tied, but then the whole second half was all referees kind of screwing us up. But yeah, it should be a good game. We actually just lost to Oklahoma State on Saturday, I believe. So it's a good showing to bounce back from that loss.
Oh, for sure. 78-67 on Saturday. And now we are kind of really showing them, like, what's up, Really good to bounce back from that. We need to win the whole thing, really, if we want to get into the playoffs, but who knows? Could go on a run. Well, today we have with us former basketball player and media production student, Chase Younts, and he's a good friend. He's also in our podcasting class. He's kind of doing us a solid coming on today.
Hey, again, I appreciate y'all having me on. I mean, it's, I'm willing to do anything, man. I'll tell you that.
No, for sure. We would love to have you and love talking about your experience with everything.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely, man. Appreciate having me.
Yeah, for sure. All right. First question. Who's your favorite basketball player?
My favorite basketball player, I'd say Steph Curry.
Oh, yeah?
When I was younger, I would say, obviously, like, LeBron was a big influence and stuff. But then I will say this story. So I was a Cavs fan all the way up till LeBron left Cleveland the first time. And then you're like, you're 6, 7 years old, and LeBron leaves, and it's like, well, dang, he left my favorite team. He's such a great player. He goes down and creates a super team of Miami and wins 2 of 4 championships down there. And then there was one day where I was watching the playoffs, and I just see this dude who, for those listening, I'm light-skinned, I'm multiracial, and you see a guy who's out there hooping named Steph Curry, who's this, light-skinned dude out there shooting the three and all that.
Yeah.
And, I saw this guy playing really good basketball, and I'm like, hold on a second, I need to watch this guy a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then he kept going and going. And this was before the Warriors started winning those championships. So I was like, okay, I'm start watching the Warriors. And then they got better and better and better and kind of followed them along. But yeah, I'm just a big Steph Curry fan, man.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching him play.
No, for sure. I didn't really pay attention to basketball. I really only remember LeBron as a Heat guy. I never was the Cavs guy. But yeah, this next question might be a bit of a cop-out considering your last answer. But LeBron, Jordan, or Curry?
Is Michael Jordan for me. I think.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I would say it's Michael Jordan. Again, like LeBron's longevity for his career, that's the greatest longevity I've ever seen. That I think a lot of people.
I mean, he's playing with his son.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, like it's incredible. I mean, he's 40 years old. His son's in the league. He's still playing at a very high level. But I just think there's a difference with just how Michael Jordan was able to be with winning 6 championships, going 6-0 in the finals overall. I just think that LeBron made it to 8 straight finals, and he had to play against some really great teams to try to get through, and lost to the Warriors a few times, and played the Spurs here and there. But I just think that there was something just different about Michael Jordan in the era that he played in, where I think it was a bit tougher.
No, for sure.
So what was your workout routine looking like when you were playing basketball?
And like even now, because I mean, you're a pretty beefy dude,
I mean, like now it is completely different from what it was before. But like high school, I'd spend a decent bit of time, every single day, working on my stuff in the gym. But when I got to college, that's where I just took a completely different, level of work. And you're going up against guys that, you're an 18-year-old walking in there. You're going up against guys that are 21, 22, 23 years old. So it's like, you better show up or show out. Like, you know what? Like, if you don't do that, you're going to be out the door, or you're going to be at the end of the bench. So it was like we had a bunch of workouts early on in the mornings. We get up at 5:30, lift from like 6 to 7:30. Obviously have your classes throughout the day. And then we'd have film right before practice around 3:30 till about 4:30. Practice from 4:30 to 6:30. Go to the training room, get your ice, get all the treatments and everything else. So the thing I'll say about Division III sports is it is like a full-time job, but you just don't get the accolades, you don't get the attention.
You don't get the pay.
You don't get the pay.
I mean, you get tuition.
Like that's a plus, but it's like you don't get the pay, you don't get the attention that you do at the Division I level. Obviously,
yeah. Or I mean, even Division II
and D2. Yeah, I mean, you still have a lot of great D2 players, and it's like there are a couple of things that just separate a D1 player from a D3 player, and it's like it's pretty insane to think about.
Yeah. What was the farthest you traveled by bus or plane? I mean, like I know you were in Richmond, and that's not the biggest school, but still, I mean,
yeah, man, it's not a big school, it's not a big city. I enjoyed my time there, but I think we had a game early on in my freshman year where we played North Park University in Chicago, and we ended up losing by 2. Early December, it was like a 3 or 4 day road trip where we were just there hanging out in the city, and then we played on a Wednesday night. But it was a cool experience though. Like there wasn't really many places where we would we'd fly and stuff, because there were a lot of more local teams in the sense of Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio. That's what like the Heartland Collegiate Athletic Conference is those 3 states. So going over to Chicago and going to a big city like that for the first time, that was my first time ever going to Chicago, and it was pretty cool to have that chance to play there and then go through different shoot arounds throughout the morning, see different places, talk to different people throughout the city, and really get to know some more of my teammates since I was a freshman. Then you got to really get to know these guys. You're staying in a hotel with them, and you see them in a different light for a little bit. But it was cool to really have that chance to go out and see another place with some new guys and really get closer with them. It was cool.
Oh, totally. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with going to those big cities, what's your craziest travel story? Like, do you have one?
Well, we'll go to Chicago, okay? And I remember we went to this restaurant called Portillo's, and really, really good spot up there. And they got a bunch of hot dogs and everything else. They had this thing called a chocolate cake shake.
Oh, I think I've heard of this.
Dude, it was so good.
Oh my gosh.
It was so. But so we all were there as a team, and then afterwards they gave us like 2 or 3 hours just kind of go out on our own with each other. So a lot of the upperclassmen teammates, they went back to one of the guys who was from Chicago went back to his house, and they were just hanging out there for a little bit. We had to get back to the hotel by I think like 11 o'clock, and then a bunch of us mindlessly were just out wandering the city and stuff downtown. So
In Chicago.
Okay, it was like 6 or 7 of us. All right, but I've told like maybe a couple people this story, but we're like going to one of the malls out there, walking through, seeing what else is out there. People were buying stuff, and then we walk out there. We're on, I forget what the main road is in Chicago, but it's one of the 2 or 3 like real main roads. And keep in mind, this is right before Christmas. Christmas lights are up, big tree downtown and everything. We're walking by. There's about 6 of us. There's this one dude that's walking up, and he just starts like squaring up with people on the street.
Oh no.
Like random people on the street. So this dude, like, he walks up to one of my teammates and just squares up with him. He's like, "Come on, man, what's up? What's up?"
Oh no.
And then he said, "I got one on me." I said,
Oh.
So,
Oh no.
So the thing is, my roommate was from Chicago, okay? So normally, like, I was kind of rolling like, okay, is this like legit or is this not legit? Like with other stuff that's in Chicago, I'm asking him about some food place, I'm asking him about some people, I'm asking him about some areas of Chicago. When I saw this man go across the street, he said, "Oh, I'm out of here." When I saw him go, I'm like, shoot, I'm just a kid from a small town. I'm not trying to die today. I'm a D3 basketball player,
Yeah.
bro. This ain't worth it. So I've just jetted across the street, man. Traffic was coming. I'm like, yeah, bro. Like, I'm not trying to do that. But that was, and then I was like, we just need to go back to the hotel. They stayed out for another 2 hours. I walked back to the hotel myself. I watched Ohio State versus Duke, and that was pretty much the rest of my night.
Yeah.
One of those, you see someone run, you don't ask questions, you just take off too.
No, man. You see people run, it's like, yep, oh, where we running to? Where we running? Like, it's not we'll ask questions later, but we trying to get out of there alive. That's the big thing. But the dude that was walking up and squaring up and stuff, he just kept doing that to everybody else. That dude was not packing a gun. He was not doing any of that stuff. But in that moment, man, that's fight or flight right there. We flying on out of there. I ain't going to fight right there. I'm trying to get out alive. That was a big thing.
Not to interrupt, but we do have a flag on the play.
Oh.
We do have a final score. The Bearcats do defeat Oklahoma State 87-68.
87-68.
Wow.
They'll take
That
on
is
Iowa
one heck of a
State
comeback.
tomorrow. So it should be a good game tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Same time. Same place?
Yeah.
All right. No,
That's
yeah.
big. That's big. I mean,
Yeah.
they came out, and Josh Reed was really playing some good basketball in the first half, and I was so surprised about that. But again, he had like a whole month of February. He was just going crazy. He had like 5 like double-digit point efforts, and found his groove again. This was the best time to really find it. And like you mentioned, Iowa State and Cincinnati, they played a really tight game in that first half, and most of the way through the second half until some officiating came into play. Iowa State got on a run, and this is going to be interesting to see what happens on Wednesday, and I'm excited.
Yeah, no, for sure. One of my friends, somebody he knows, he's like, or his roommate, he said, "Oh, he's like the biggest Josh Reed fan. Every time he's on the court, it's like Josh Reed, he's on the court, he got points today." And it's like, I guess he got his dues.
At this point, shoot.
In the first round of the Big 12 tournament, no less.
Yeah, man, he's been balling though, and it's the last couple of games haven't been the best for him, but finally got out there, and I don't know how much he finished up with, but again, I mean, he had 15 in the first half, so that was a big thing to really widen that gap. But it was good stuff.
No, for sure.
Day Thomas did lead the scoring with 21 points.
Wow.
So.
I mean, I know he had like 12 at one point. I didn't know he was continuing going. I mean, that was big stuff for a Day.
No, totally.
And then Dylan Mitchell had the double-double, I believe. He had a double-double nearly in the first half. Like he was playing.
There was some pretty crazy stuff. Like one dude got like technical 4 fouls. It's like,
yeah, Oklahoma State had a couple technicals, man, and they're a team that's they're like a loose cannon.
Yeah.
They really are, and that type of stuff. When you do that early on in the game and you give other team extra opportunities, then you'll make it pay. And Cincinnati made it pay.
Yeah. So, at what age did you realize that like basketball was what you wanted to do, and then like what made you want to make a change?
I realized around age 14 was when I was like, okay, basketball, like just straight basketball is what I wanted to do, because all the way, like I played football, basketball, and baseball from the time I was 6 all the way to the time I was 14. So I played pretty much year round for about 8 or 9 years, and football was my main thing. That's what I wanted to play, and I think I stopped playing started my freshman year because I had some bit of a knee problem that showed up, and I was like, you know what, I'll come back next year. I got to get this thing figured out before basketball season. And I also gave up baseball at the same time. So I gave up 2 sports, football and baseball, in a month time frame. So that was like
a lot.
That was a ton. And then I played basketball my freshman year, had a great freshman season, and then I didn't come back for football my sophomore year. And then I just didn't come back after that at all. So I was like, you know what, basketball, this is what I want to run with and see what happens. But
especially since it's so much more easy physically. You know?
Yeah, it is definitely better when you're not getting hit every single play. Because like when my last time I played football was like 8th grade, and I was playing quarterback, and throwing the ball 30 times a game was cool. But then when you get,
sacked,
you get sacked, and
I mean, even at the 8th grade level, there were some big 8th graders.
Oh my gosh, yeah, like there were some huge. I mean, at the time, I know I'm like 6'4" right now. I was like back then probably like 5'6". Like I was a small dude, like. And just getting hit all the time, like it kind of sucked. And I was like, I like the game of football, but like I also like my health. So that was a big thing. But why I stopped playing? It's tough because I felt like I had a lot of blessings to get to the point where I was as a freshman, because my freshman year of college, I remember my grandpa ended up passing away, and he was at every single football and basketball game of mine from the time I can remember. And when that happened, I was like, you know what, this is going to be a tough struggle mentally. I got to figure out how to get through this. So then once practices started my freshman year, I battled my way up the depth chart and finally got a chance to start as a freshman, like opening day. And that was like beyond my wildest dreams, and played a bunch. And then once I got through the end of my freshman year, with everything that happened, it was such an exhausting year. And I'm like, okay, I need to think about, do I really want to go through this again? So then, got summer, and I was like, you know what, I do. So I came back my sophomore year, and it was fine, but I started making more connections in the media space with some people from different networks, like inaugural from CBS. Like me and him been tight for like 2 or 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Steve Wyatt from NFL Network. Me and him been tight for about 2 or 3 years. Just like, I was really, during the summer, I was like playing basketball on my media grind as well, like with the podcast and everything else that I was doing behind the scenes.
Podcast?
Exactly. But but the thing is, like, I was doing other stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm thinking about what I'm going to be doing afterwards, after playing basketball, because this, it's going to stop sometime, and maybe I want to go out on my own terms. And as time went on, my sophomore year, like early on in the season, there were just some times where like lineup changes would happen, shuffles here and there, and that's just how the game of basketball goes. But it got to a very unnecessary point where it was just like, I know I'm the like probably one of the best bigs out there on our team, and I don't know why exactly this is the case. So I was like, you know what? I want to focus my time and effort on something that I can really control.
Yeah.
Instead of what's happening on the court. I can control what I can control, but if they're just, if there's people that are just going to keep making those decisions that are not the best decisions out there, then why am I putting myself through this? And it was a tough thing to go about it, because just mentally I was worn out. I was like, the exhaustion I had my freshman year, it then carried over my sophomore year, because I was like putting more pressure on myself to to be even better, and then, not getting those opportunities. So every time I stepped on the court, there was double the amount of pressure that I put on myself as well as the coaches put on me. So I was like, this is not healthy, and this is going to end in a terrible way. So I just kind of removed myself from the situation, had a chance to go on our road trip to play a game. I think it was in Cleveland. They said, you know what, just take a weekend to figure out what you want to do. And I took that weekend to figure it out. And I was like, I am much happier not playing basketball. And then they're like, okay, are you going to stay at the school? I was like, nope. I said, I'm going to go back, do a couple credits here at the community college for a semester, and then I'm going to figure out what I want to do. And that's when I figured out going to UC was probably the best thing for me to do.
Yeah, so kind of just to piggyback off what you just said there, why did you choose UC out of everywhere you could have gone, and more specifically, why media production?
Well, initially I was looking at Wright State because it was closer to home, and I was like, you know what, I'm like the whole thing in Indiana. It wasn't that far, but
they have a pretty good film program and everything going on.
Exactly. And I was just like, I kind of want to stay closer to home and everything else, and I don't want that extra stress. But when I think I applied to UC in I want to say early July 23, so it was a really close time frame. I was like, you know what? If I hear back from them and I get accepted into the media production, I'm like, I'm going to go down there, no questions asked. And then I got the accepted thing, and I was like, you know what? Screw the Wright State plans. I'm going to UC.
Yeah.
And I knew the sports department was not in Bearcast I wouldn't say it was growing, but I saw the stuff here ESPN Plus and everything, and it was growing. I was like, you know what? I got to go somewhere bigger to try to get my foot in the door and try to get those opportunities. So I just made that jump, got involved here, started putting things together, just getting opportunities, and started reaching out to more people, and got some more opportunities, capitalized on more connections here in the city, went out and really tried to extend and market myself, and it's worked so far to this point.
Yeah.
And, just have continually done that. And I'm not going to stop doing that. And in pro, there's a lot of great opportunities that you can do, whether it be sports, whether it be filmmaking, whether it just be podcasting and everything else. It's just a very wide range of things that you can do. So it was really cool to get a chance to try to work on versatility in this department. It's going to be ever so grown because of just look at how technology is today.
No, totally. Just next door, they have the new a new XR studio that they're working with athletes with and everything. So, it's a lot of new stuff.
It's awesome.
So, have you always wanted to do sports media, be on camera and stuff? I know you're looking for that all the time. I saw you the other day at the basketball game.
Yeah.
Bad showing, terrible game, but it was kind of fun just seeing you there on the side and everything.
Yeah, man. I would say probably since my freshman year of high school is when I really found out that I wanted to do that. And you got to get out of your headspace where you're like, oh, I want to go to the NFL, I want to go to the NBA. 1% of the population does that. So It's okay, what else are you gonna do? And it was listening to my freshman year of high school was the first year that Tony Romo started calling games in the NFL. And I was like, hold on, this is all starting to make a lot of sense. So stuff was kind of clicking. And then I was like, okay, a lot of color analysts on TV are all former players or coaches. And I'm like, I'm not going to the league. So what's the next best thing? The play-by-play, the guy right next to him. So I was like, all right, I know pretty good amount of, sports, and I've listened to guys like Al Michaels and Jim Nantz and Chris Fowler and everybody else over the years. So I'm like, you know what? I feel like I've got a personality that I got to try to unlock and be myself. So kind of went from there and tried to figure out some other opportunities and didn't really get a chance to do that until pretty much, when I got to college, and here we are now.
Yeah, here we are. And, you seem to be doing pretty great at it.
Appreciate that.
Being on the sideline with ESPN Plus. I've often thought about that, with my own class schedules and everything. So, yeah, UC seems like a really great place to be, and especially with media production and CCM. # not sponsored, even though we are in media production. Yeah. No, I mean, they just have a lot of great opportunities with that.
So
and
much.
just with everything like that with the sports and sports media.
There is a lot, man. It's good stuff.
Do you ever miss playing basketball / like wish you could go back? And furthermore, did you ever consider trying out for UC? Like, was that an option or no?
Never really considered doing that because trying out for UC because it was like, okay, I already didn't like.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the grind while it lasted at Earlham.
Yeah. But you were pretty glad it was over.
Yeah, I was glad it was over, and at the same time, that's 2 or 3 different levels right there.
Yeah.
You're talking about, I was playing like small ball center at 6'5". Josh Reed plays a 3 and he's 6'7".
Jeez.
So I'm like, yeah, I can't shoot from the outside like that. So I'll go out and play intramurals and stuff like that. Like, it was pretty fun this past year. But like, I've done that. Do I miss it? I say at the start of the season, at the start of the last 2 seasons I did. But then I was like, you know what? There was a reason why I left. And you know what? Like, I already enjoy what I'm doing even more than what I was doing before.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I got the best of both worlds playing the game, and now I'm not too far removed from it, so I can also talk to people about what's going on.
Yeah.
And get a chance to call it, and also keep a lot of terminologies and everything else fresh into my mind. So that was the beauty of just seeing both sides of the coin.
Yeah. How was the transition from being like an athlete to a student? Because I know like athletes, like you said, it's a full-time job. And did you have like a full class schedule? Like, I can't imagine dealing with all of that, and then on top the traveling, the practices, because it's like that's like an all day affair. It's not. Yeah. It's like you seem to have maybe like Sunday where you get to, I guess, be Chase and be a student.
Yeah. Professors gave you some leeway and stuff just because of how much was going on, but I would pretty much like just get a bunch of work done, late nights because like I get a lot late nights while, so I could have a chance to watch Thursday night football, have a chance to watch Monday night football. Like you mentioned, Sundays could be like the student chase. Sundays was watching the NFL. So I was like, I had to get that stuff done, throughout the week and later in the night because I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to want to watch the Bengals on Sunday.
Yeah. So you're a Bengals fan. I was about to ask, like, are you?
Big time Bengals
for
fan.
Sure.
So I wanted to, I was like, you know what? I got to get this stuff done during the week so I can watch Burrow, Chase, Higgins, and all those guys play.
Oh, yeah, for sure. What year did you come to UC?
23, fall 23. So
nice,
it's, yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah, because I know I recently transferred fall of 24. Like, I came through here with DMC, and then I came through with then the CCM this semester. So it's like it's been weird, but it's also really nice just with the sports and everything. It was a very artsy, interesting school. It was a Savannah College of Art and Design for the listeners out there who are curious. I know some people are like, oh, I know that school, and then some others are like, the hell is that?
Hey, reach out to me, But but dude, it's like that transfer period. Like it's almost like for a first couple weeks or maybe even like a month or so. Like you're trying to navigate this new place.
Oh,
it's so big, and you feel like a freshman. You feel like a freshman again. And it's like,
yeah.
Hold on, like you feel it, but then you're like, snap out of it. I'm a junior. Snap out of it. I'm 21 years old or whatever it is.
That's
and
what my dad says. I'm like, it's like I'm starting over, and my dad's like, no, you're not. You're a junior.
Like you start over, but you really have to get out of it, and then afterwards, you're just like, you know what, like let's roll with it. Let's enjoy the time that we got right now, and just go with it and do things that you never thought you'd do.
Are you on the sideline for like football games and that kind of thing? Because I know that was big.
Yeah, I like sometimes I'm up in the booth for like some of the football games, and then other times like be on the field and stuff like in the end zone. Nice. So it was it's just cool to just kind of have those opportunities there.
I was in the student section for most of them, except that last one because it was on the Ohio State Michigan game, and it's like
can't miss that.
You can't miss it.
You can't miss that.
But it did look like a fun game. I mean, we lost. Womp womp. But it seemed like a fun game. The environment, Nippert, is killer.
Yeah.
I mean, did you get season tickets?
I did not. I got season tickets freshman year, and then once we started playing bad, I stopped going to the games. I haven't been back since.
Really?
I keep on telling myself.
I mean, I know we're bad, but like I feel like I want to, show and stuff like that.
Yeah, but like, is it worth spending however much it is for season tickets just to watch us get blown out each week and have to walk back from the stadium sad. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it kind of ruins your day. Like, I still watch some every week and whatnot, but haven't gone to the game. You know, I keep telling myself once we start playing better, I'll start going back, but that has yet to happen. So.
Yeah, I know we had the playoff run, and I mean it wasn't really a playoff run; it was a playoff one. But we put up a fight against Alabama. I feel like this new 12 team playoff system, we definitely have a chance. I mean, you saw what happened last year.
Yeah.
It was like kind of everybody
Just win your conference. That's the big thing. Got to win your conference, get an automatic bid, and for a chance, we had an opportunity late October where we just kind of folded and 5-2 and went to 5-7. And the last win we had was against the team that made the playoff from our conference, Arizona State. So it could have happened, but just didn't.
Yeah. How do you feel about the UC basketball team? I know, like from an outsider, or not really from an outsider, but like from kind of an insider perspective. I mean, I know it was D3, but it was also like you did it.
Yeah, it's tough because honestly, like the way I think about it, this is probably one of the most disappointing UC basketball teams we've probably ever seen. Oh, it is, because at one point this team was number 14 in the country.
Oh yeah,
number 14 in the country, and then
conference play started.
Yeah, conference play, and again the Big 12 is a gauntlet, so it's like you're gonna play some really good teams. And I remember, I think the second we start off with Kansas State and lost, and it's like, okay, like it's a tough conference. And then Arizona came in. Arizona played such a tough schedule. Then you lose to them at home, and you're like, Arizona's a lot better than what their record was at the time at 7-5, and then obviously now they're ranked. But then you look at us at the time, we were I think we were 16 at the time, and you're like, okay, I don't think we're all that. But it's just so unfortunate because you saw at one point this was the number 14th ranked team in the country. And then to fall, to be crashing back down to earth and even below it is terrible.
Yeah.
So it literally, I did not imagine this season to end to be the way it's gone so far. You were 14 in the country and now you're 13 in your conference.
Yeah.
It was a huge reality check. Like after that Xavier win, I thought, shoot, we could make a deep run, and then
top of the world.
And conference play, like we just got smacked around, and we obviously have not been the same since that.
I mean, what did we start off with? Like 6-0-6?
Yeah, maybe one loss to Villanova, I think.
I mean, we saw like what the Big 12, what our schedule looked like at the start of Big 12 play, and then you think about it, you look at Kansas State, Arizona, Baylor, Kansas. That's a rough four to go against, just looking at it at the start. And there were a couple of games where you're thinking, you lost at Utah by like 3. Come on. You lost at West Virginia by about 3. The first time you played West Virginia, it was Sunday, and that was one of the worst basketball I've ever seen. Kansas State, the one where we saw each other.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
Oh my gosh.
You win 3 of those games, you're 20-11, and you got 3 better wins and maybe a quad 1 win, and now you're looking at winning today and maybe beating Iowa State. You're definitely in the tournament at that point.
I mean, yeah, totally. And it's like with the Kansas State game, we had it for a good portion of it, and it was just sickening to see. And like, we just kind of, I feel like we can't get in the paint at all. We try and be flashy with like Drizzle and everybody, and we try to go for threes. And I feel like it's like we don't need 3 points, we need 2 points. And it's just like, I feel like we just can't penetrate the defense. Pause. But I mean, I feel like that's our biggest problem.
Yeah, our offense, I don't know. I think the system they play is, I think it's okay, but when stuff breaks down, you gotta have bucket getters that can you can rely upon. And obviously Jizzle's a guy that you can rely upon Jizzle, but when he's the only guy that you can consistently rely upon, and everyone knows that, who else is gonna step up? And it hasn't really been many people, once we got the conference play, but it's, it is frustrating to see. And this team had no bad losses until Kansas State, and they had no great wins at all this year. So it was just, we were just kind of there. If you had a couple great wins and you didn't have any bad losses, this team's going to March Madness. They're going dancing.
Yeah.
If it happened. But
Definitely.
obviously it hasn't, so they got to win a couple more games to have a chance.
Yeah.
Do you think Wes Miller needs to go?
That is the big question.
Well, it's been 4 years and nothing's worked. They've talked, you talk about giving a coach, at least in basketball, a presidential tenure to get things right, and they haven't made a tournament at all. The buyout's too big, so he's going to obviously be back next year. They can't afford to fire him and give him that much money on the way out.
How much is it?
It's pushing nearly $9 million for buyout.
Yeah.
So he'll be back next year. Do I think he should be? That remains to be seen. I think part of it is, I don't know if he lost the locker room at all or not, but at the same time, the roster is kind of like an American roster that's in the Big 12.
Yeah.
So you kind of get what you kind of get when you're tooling that roster together, and it's you have to have a better roster, and you have to be more consistent when you're playing against the Big 12 night in and night out, because everyone's going to show up in that conference.
Yeah. I feel like we were definitely, what were we in, the A10?
We're in the American Athletic Conference.
AAC.
Yeah, AAC.
Yeah, I feel like that shift was really big, especially after. I think the main motivation of it was football, because I feel like after that playoff run, they made the switch, and it was like, oh, this team can play, and now it's just like, oh, this team is whatever, and in a lot of aspects. Apologies to any basketball or football players that are listening to this podcast. It hasn't even come out yet, and I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but who knows? I apologize. We're not trying to be mean. But have you kept up with Irwin at all? Have you ever been back, or do you still keep in touch with anybody over there?
I was back. I think it was December 2023. I was there, and there were a couple of former teammates that were playing in that game. Talked to them after the game. They were, glad to see them. They were glad to see me. Just had conversations. Those guys have since transferred as well to other schools, and they've been making their mark in other conferences. One of the guys, Joffrey Nunnally, shout out. He ended up winning. I forget what school he's at now, but they ended up winning their conference tournament. So now they're in the D3 March Madness, which is cool.
That's awesome.
So, and then I was at Casey Kesey. He's doing some good stuff over in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. So he, had a really good season there. So there's, there have been guys that have gone on to go to other schools and everything else, and it's just interesting to have that type of crossroads with so many different people from so many different walks of life, and still stay in connection with those guys, because we all shared a year or two together of playing basketball and being on the court.
Almost getting shot in Chicago.
And a handful of them even know that too. So it's just cool to, have those experiences with those guys, and just to see where they're at right now and keep up with them. It's been cool stuff.
No, for sure. Did you ever plan on? I know that one of the cruxes of you making the change to becoming coming to UC and going into media production was the fact that you weren't super thinking about, I guess, the longevity of it. Mm-hmm. And did you ever think about playing at the next level or anything like that?
No. No, I never did. No. I just know that my play style, and I knew my limits.
Yeah.
I knew my limits very well. So I had no chance of doing that.
Yeah. What is next for you now, do you think? What's the next level for you now?
Well, I've caught a handful of games for ESPN Plus recently, and I've got another semester left. I'll graduate in the winter of 2025.
Yeah,
and probably get more opportunities in the fall with them, and other networks around that I've been working with, and we're just gonna keep building from there. That's pretty much it. Once I get done with school, I'll have a lot more answers, and hopefully, moving my way up the chain. So that's the goal right now. Just keep stacking days and getting more opportunities, and just trying to get better with what I've got going on.
No, for sure.
Yeah, what's been your biggest takeaway being here at UC and being a part of everything that you're a part of?
Like the Irwin team and like just making the change and everything.
You know, when I was over there in Richmond, I was one of the quietest guys on the team. Okay, I didn't really say a whole lot. I kept to myself. I was cool with a lot of my teammates, and I hung out with them too. But
Yeah.
I just wasn't, I really didn't share a whole lot. But when I got to UC, and at Earlham, there's like 1,000 people at that school. It's a
Really?
very small school.
Oh my gosh.
You come to UC, there's 50,000 people.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't try to blossom here and you don't try to be yourself and, market yourself, you're going to get lost in the sauce. You're going to get lost in,
Yeah.
in the ocean. So you gotta stand out.
No,
And,
for sure.
I think since I've been here, the quietness and the anxiety of like just being around a whole bunch of people and trying to talk to big groups of people and meeting new people has completely gone away.
Yeah.
And you're in an environment where you have to succeed and you have to find a way to succeed. You're gonna find a way, and that's what I plan on doing. I feel like I've been doing that, and I'm not stopping anytime soon.
Awesome, man. I feel like I need to take some of that advice myself,
But I'm saying it's a different ball game, and you just gotta be willing to play that ball game where it's like getting out and connecting with people. So, and then following up with people, and just don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to be too curious. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, Chase, I'd say that is a wrap on the first inaugural episode of Down the Drive. Thank you for coming on, man. You're a lifesaver.
Dude,
it's been really fun.
I appreciate you guys having me on. This was
Yeah.
fun to talk to you guys.
So, also, speaking of, Chase has his own podcast.
Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to plug it here, you can.
Well, I'm gonna do my first episode of The Backtrack, which is like a bunch of 90s sitcoms and stuff, but that's for class. On the outside, I have a show, Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast, where I've been doing podcasts for about 4 years.
wow.
So it's
awesome, man.
yeah. So it's been fun stuff, but that's all. I'll leave it at with that.
Hey, if you ever need some guests.
We've got it. I'm cool. We gotta work something out there. I'm cool with that.
No, totally, man. But thank you so much for
Of course.
coming on, man.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
And finally,
Hey, cats, let's go UC.